Hello there, it's me, Sari here again, and today I'm here to try to show you how I made these magic slider cards. I showed you these in a previous video, yesterday actually, or was it the day before, and things go from black and white into full color. And I just find these cards really amusing, so let's see if I can make it through explaining to you what I have done and how I think my thought process is. You are going to need a piece of paper that you can make a pocket out of. And you are going to need something to put in front, as well as perhaps something decorative, as I have die cut here with a die from Spellbinders, which is called Floral Assortments. And then you're going to need something that you can make a tab out of, or a tag with a T-stop to it. It's going to end up like this. And then you're going to need a piece of acetate, plastic of some sort that you can stamp on. And I'm going to use how to stamp on plastic with my MISTI, and hopefully I'll be able to make it work. The thing is, when you're making this tab flap tag thingy, you need to make sure that the plastic will end up in the right place over the top of the stamped image. So in this case I have actually prepared it. I did like this actually. I decided on having a circle as a hole in the front. You could have a square or a rectangle or whatever. And I sort of tried to place it here. And I drew a circle or just a line to know where I would do my stamping. And I put this paper here, put it down, and then I put the stamp in the circle, picked it up with the lead, put it like that, and just lift it up. And as you can see, in this case, when you are using a piece of paper, when you are using your clear stamps, they have a tendency to stick more to the paper. In that case, it's really nice to have these magnets that keep the paper in place. So in this case, I did the same thing with this one. I actually did cut, so I had the T shape here. It doesn't really matter if you do it before and afterwards. As long as you can line it up like this, use your magnets and you do your stamping. So now it's time for me to just try to make it work. I need to find a way, because somehow it seems like the plastic isn't exactly the same size, even though it is, but sometimes it feels like it's not going to end up in the right place. So I'm going to place the plastic or the acetate in the corner, because that's my guideline, so to speak. And I'm going to use Stays On ink, because that's the ink that actually dries the quickest on acetate or almost any kind of surface except for fabric. So I'm going to do the stamping like this. When I did those other cards, I actually used my Stamper Magic, and it was a little bit more difficult, I must say. I made it work. And one thing, of course, you could do also that before you trim your acetate out, you can actually do your stamping and then trim the acetate using either the Stamper Magic or just pure freehand stamping. But if you are if you want to make sure that you are ending up with the stamped result exactly where you want it, then the MISTI is definitely the tool to use. And as you can see, something has happened. I'm not sure, because in this case I'm not ending up with this one in the right place. So you see, I haven't taken into consideration, I've actually cut this plastic out too soon. So let's say I'm actually going to do it in another way. I'm just going to take another piece of acetate here, and I do need to trim it down a little bit. But just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to trim it down completely. I'm going to put it here. Will it be long enough? That's the question number 2. It's not going to be long enough, so I need to actually trim it down to, let's say, 6 and a little bit more. So I need to put it like that. Let's see. Now it seems like it's going to stay in its place. These magnets are really strong. And I actually lucked out because it got stuck to a metal cart. So I'm just going to put these like that, and I'm going to do the stamping it once more. Let's see if I can make it better this time. So I'm going to do the stamping like that. And you see the stamp, it's really sticking to the surface, the clear stamp that is. Would I have now missed out the stamping? I could have actually put it back and re-stamped, since the stamp is still in its place on the lid there. So this is actually one of the many benefits of using a MISTI, because you can re-stamp and you can get another piece of paper and you can just do your stamping without measuring things yet once more. So the thing I need to do with this one, of course, is just decide on to cut away these bits and pieces, but I'll do that a little bit later, because I'm going to give this one some extra seconds to dry, I suppose. So I'm going to put it there. So now I'm going to go back to my pocket. So the measurements I had for this one, let's see, I'm just going to shift that one there. The measurements I had for this one was 17.5 centimeters times 32 centimeters. I'm using a watercoloring paper which is bigger than A4, or let's say letter size. So in this case I actually lucked out making it in just one piece of paper. I then measured 1 centimeter of each side on the long sides, as well as at the bottom piece, and then I also made a score line in the center at 16 times 3 centimeters. That gives me the possibility of actually folding this together like this and have a flap that I can tuck in and make a pocket like this. But let's see if I can make this cutting bit by hand. Since I have prepared the tape bits, it's easy for me to know which sides to cut and which sides to keep. You could of course use a trimmer to this if you want to, but I'm just going to do it like this in this tutorial. Sometimes I find it really relaxing just using my scissors. And in order to make these tuck in nicely, I also want to cut off the corners here, because then it's going to be easier to fold that one in. I'm going to cut away both of those corners there. And now you see it's easier for me to just make that one go down. And the same thing goes for this bit. I'm going to cut away the corners down here. Because then it's easier for me to just keep this one in place. I might have to do some extra trimming. Let's see what it would look like. So I'm going to take this like that. And I could either, well, I'm actually going to let it go on the outside here. Like this. And when I look at it, it sort of looks alright, but I could almost see myself cutting away those corners as well. Let's see, perhaps I'll regret this in a second or two, but let's see if I can make it work like this. I'm just going to take away this really strong tape, double-sided adhesive, and I'm using this really strong tape now because I found out that I'm not sure if I used the sort of not as strong tape for the other cards, but I sort of see that it's going to loosen up in its seams, so to speak. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this in. And you can decide on if you want to have your measurements in inches. You just decide on if you want to go for a 6 by 6 inch card. Well, then you can have perhaps half an inch on those bits that you are going to score in like that. So now I have a pocket, but you see, I'm really stupid now, aren't I? Because I did go one step too far. Let's see if I can make this work without breaking this. Because I do need to put in those flaps and tabs and everything. So let's see. So now that I have come this far, I suppose I have to add on some more tape really, because I'm not going to be able to stick this one down. So that's what you get when you're trying to prepare things beforehand. But you see, this tape is also removable, sort of. It does tear a little bit of the paper, of course it does. But I think I'd rather do it like this instead of just starting all over from the get-go. And perhaps I ought to go for some glue this time then. So now we are here. I do have this bit, and I need to cut away the 1 centimeter wide strip down to the 1 centimeter mark on both sides, and that will leave me this bit. But before I do anything with that, I actually need to make sure that I'm getting this one the same size. And it's nice to have some sort of a clamp or something to help me out. So I'm going to go for something like this, hoping it'll help me keep it in place. And now it's really important to actually line up the stamp on top of this stamped image. So this is where it's your crucial moment here, really. Just put that clamp there, sort of. And perhaps you could do your cutting, and you need to figure out what to do with it. Of course, you should go for the same measurements that I have talked to you about before. So in this case, I'm going to need for the tab to be, or the tag, let's see, I'm going to need it to be 12 by 16.5. So let's see if I could just do it like that, see if it makes sense. 12 seems to make sense still. Let's hope that thing there won't give me a hard time. And now I need to make sure that I have 1 centimeter in from that one. So I'm going to put it at the 1 centimeter there. And I'm thinking that I have 19 there, so I could actually go from the 20 upwards. I could twist it like that, make it easy for me. Go from 20 upwards, yet once more. And then I need to make sure that I'm not going to cut these off. So I'm going to put it at the 1, and I'm going to do the cutting. Just want to find the mark here. I'm just going to look at where the blade pierces the plastic, and I'm going to drag it up like that. Hopefully this will work. I'm going to just twist it like that. It's going to be the easiest way for me. I'm going to look for the cut piece there, jam it through and cut away the excess. So let's see if I lucked out or if I have to do this once more. My most important thing, of course, is that I actually manage to glue these things together or keep them in place. I haven't actually thought about how to do that. In the other cards, I actually did use a tab of sorts. I could, of course, go for a half circle or something like that as well. But just to have some fun, I was thinking that I could do something else. I'm not going to start die cutting because then the table is going to shake, and I'm a little bit afraid of making everything just shake too much. So I'm thinking that I might actually go for a piece of... I'm just going to die cut a circle like this. And perhaps I ought to fold it somewhat. Hopefully I will get it in the center. So if I have something to keep these two in place, then it's going to be easier for me, I suppose. So you see, I just sort of lucked out here. So what I like to do, just to be on the safe side, I'm keeping this in place while I'm putting small, tiny attacher thingies there. And of course it has to run out, doesn't it? Just so typical. So let's see, here I have these. And this is a fantastic tool that Tim Holtz and Zizix sells. Or they sell it actually. So I'm just going to put this small piece of tiny attachers into the gap, so to speak. Put it there and close it easily like this. and just make sure it tucks, closes like that. So I'm still making sure that I have it in the right place, and I'm putting on another just to be on the safe side, you see. And the first one wasn't a success for me, so I suppose I ought to take it away. I'm just going to risk my nails here, aren't I? Because after that I'm free to glue that piece down afterwards. Hello, I'm back. The hard disk drive for that camera got full, so accidentally everything stopped. But now I'm back to see where I am. So this is the part that I actually left off with. The plastic is on top, but what I found out, yeah, once more being stupid enough, is that I didn't need the T-blocking thing on the plastic bit. So I cut these off in order to be able to put it through this card here. So if I'm going to put it like that, I can actually just pull it out and be happy with it. But the thing is that these two aren't going to be on the same side. The plastic is going to be on top here. So now the fun bit begins actually. So let's see if I can make it work really. So there is going to be something that's going to stop this there. So the question is whether to have it all there and just try to make this card close. So I might actually just go for this strong tape yet once more, and perhaps I should even go for some glossy accents on top just to be on the safe side and make it really durable. So I'm just going to put this tape there on 3 sides. And the backing of this tape is really static, so sometimes I have to struggle getting it away from my fingers and everything. And I had a final piece down here. Like that. And now I do believe that it's safe for me to actually glue these things down. So, lesson learned. Look at this video and skip the parts where I went wrong. But just remember, even having crafted for as long as I have, for almost 10 years now, I still make these stupid mistakes. So that's just a part of life, I see. And that's why I don't edit my videos. I just want you to know that even though you are making a mistake here and there, it's not the end of the world now, is it? So, I'm just going to be bold about this. I'm just going to take that one in as well at the end there. I'm just going to put these down like that. So here we have this function. So now you are getting to look at something in black and white. And there is a little bit of hassle here. There you go. So sometimes when you have this bit flap on the inside that is tucked in, sometimes it doesn't go all the way down. So you have to jam it or just work it a little bit more. So now that I'm going to do my finishing touches when it comes to decorating the card, I'm going to, so now it's really important for me to not put lots of glue on all the pieces, because what happens is that I do have the bit of plastic there. Either I would have to make it a lot shorter than it is right now. I could actually make it a little bit shorter as it is, because it's going to poke out on the other side otherwise. So here come my trusted scissors again, and as long as you can see that it is a little bit shorter than the complete width, and you see it, sometimes you just have to struggle a little bit here. It's rather annoying, I must say. But the problem is that if I don't have anything to stop it down here, this one is going to fall out. So I do need a stop there. It's just that it annoys me quite a lot. Well, I believe that is the gap there. You know, I come to think of it, I actually forgot to tell you about the making of this hole for this bit. I decided when I have this, the width of this tab or tag, I just put it there and sort of try to find out where on the center line it would be in the center. So just have to figure out, deciding after this one and just putting it in the center. And I believe that I did have, let's say 2.7 or 2.5 centimeters on each side. But just do your math there, please. I just forgot to tell you about that one, sorry. So here we are with this one. And I do need to put this on top there. And I did make some guidelines for me when I'm going to place this on top, because I found out that in another thing I sort of got it a little bit wonky. It isn't absolutely straight and it sort of bugs me. So in this case I decided on I would like to put this a little bit more straight. And of course I have made these lines with a pencil, so I can just erase them later on. But the thing I wanted to talk to you about is that I'm not going to put any kind of glue on this side or this side. I'm just going to put it on the long sides, because otherwise I won't be able to move and shift and glide that one. And in this case I'm just going to go for an easy method. I'm just going to go for some double-sided 3D foam tape, and it seems like I do have enough space here to go for. But I'm going to work with this piece because this is the one that is actually going to be glued down, so I'm going to know where I'll end up with this. So I'm just going to take it from side to side and cut it away like that. And just go to the opposite side, so I accidentally don't go for the wrong side. Opposite sides. And I'm going to glue this one down, and it's going to give me some height as well, and I do like that little bit of texture, or a little bit of height actually. Like that. So that is going to be glued down, and I do believe that I did leave a small frame around it. Hopefully. Let's see. This is a way to actually check it out. Have I managed to keep myself within the lines? It ought to be all right. I'm just looking at this. The plastic is there, so you can't really see it that well, but I do believe that I ought to be able to put it like that. So I'm just going to flip it over and leave that much room on those sides, and just to have a look-see. It does go, and it's like magic, especially when I can get it all the way in. Just look at this. It's magnificent, isn't it? So now you're actually going to see what I'm... Bloody hell! So what could I do? You know, I'm just thinking that I ought to... But I do need that stop there now, don't I? So I do need... And now it's really sticking there. So I just have to settle for this. So perhaps you could do a little bit of something on your bit. Perhaps you could cut away a little bit here or something. I mean, just measure out how far are those T bits going to be, because this is what's giving me a hard time. Since it is going to be glued down, it's going to get stuck here somehow. It doesn't find its way properly. So you could perhaps make something. I'm not sure if it's going to help you or not. The best thing, of course, would be to just have this flap on this side, on the outer piece, because then I believe it's going to have a much easier time to just slide and glide through. So please make sure that you're going to do this. But then, of course, you're going to end up with an ugly piece down here. So perhaps you should have something on the back side, so it doesn't give you as much a hard time as this one is giving me. I don't understand it. I mean, I haven't had this much problems with the other cards. Could it be it can't be the plastic either, because the plastic is on the top. So now it's there. For goodness sake. Well, let's move about. And of course you could have this sort of frame bit in a different color. I'm thinking that would be really nice. And I was thinking that perhaps, well, let's see if I can show it to you, what I had in mind. I'm going to go for some stain ink, and I do want to have something to protect my surface with. So I'm going to go for this, just to have something underneath. And then of course before I can glue it down, I actually do need to make it dry. But I'm just going to take some stain here and there, put it here and there just to see what could happen. And I'm just going to make it work, sort of. And then of course one could even spray with some shimmer mist or something on top. So now I have these sort of abandoned coral and spiced marmalade and scattered straw. Perhaps I should go for some shabby shutters because that's a sort of a pale green color. And I could also leave some room for something blue. So, or perhaps cracked pistachio. That could be a nice color to combine things with. I'm not sure. Let's see. But I do find that coloring these die cut pieces out with some stain is really fun. So the best thing for me, of course, is now to leave this to dry by its own. And you could just imagine having this one dried up and put down on that card. It's going to look rather beautiful. And I'm thinking that perhaps I will even do some misting with a sort of a spray there afterwards. Because then this one is going to break up nicely from that card. And when I have pulled that tab away, it's going to be color on top as well as in the bit that I'm going to pull out actually. So in order to not mess things up too much, perhaps I ought to quit here. Sort of feeling like I would like to make a complete video of this, but on the other hand I do want this to dry first. On the other hand, stain colors do dry rather quickly. And you know, just by making a laminated sheet like this, it's really easy cleanup. So I could absolutely recommend you to do this. So the question is, should I pull out my embossing gun? Or my heat tool? I'm just a little bit afraid of the funky foam underneath going to get a little bit warped up because it's of rubber or plastic or something. So I'm just a little bit aware of that one might not feel as well from this treatment as the paper will. I just came to think about the fact that first off I thought that perhaps this doesn't stand the heat, but since it has been, I actually don't know if it's been laminated through a warm laminator or a cold, I'm not sure. So perhaps that's the thing to think about if you are going to use your surface as a surface, let's say. So I'm just going to sort of play it safe, keep this one in my hand and dry it off like this. It seems like the funky foam isn't actually responding to the heat that much. Of course the paper is protecting it a little bit, so I was actually more concerned about it. So let's see, I'm just going to get some shimmer spray just to show you the difference. I mean, this is what it looks like right now, but I'm hoping it'll be better. Having used a little bit of shimmer sparkle from Tsukineko. And I don't need to shake it, I just have a tendency of shaking everything. So I'm just going to spray this one all over, and I'm just going to be smart now, aren't I? So I'm just going to take a piece of paper or something to have underneath. Just going to flip it over like that. Bloody hell. And you should see the shimmer and sparkle. I mean, this is magical. Just look at this. Do you see the sparkle? I mean, it's just look at the background paper. I mean, it's magnificent. So this is something I'm going to dry up as well. Hopefully to speed the process a little bit. Well, now there are some pieces that are sort of still white. I'm not sure, should I leave them like that or will it look sloppy? But the shimmering is really nice to look at actually. So in this case my thought was that I could put it like this on top and just to have it sort of clean and simple but still a bit pizzazzy, and I could pull it out like that. Struggle, you see, I didn't have to struggle. So perhaps you need to jam it through a couple of times in order to make it work. Don't give up. And at the end I'm thinking perhaps I could put a star here or something decorative just to hide those tiny touches. And well, this is basically it, how I struggle and how I spend my time, perhaps not swearing but almost, and just to make it work but still coming up with something magical like this. So the thing is, should I have this beautiful frame colored in and sprayed and everything, or should I just have it, you see I need to put something there because I've got some ink on the backside there, and or should I just have a white piece of thing there? But you see I do sort of fancy it, so let's go all in. So you needn't bother answering, I'm just going to do it by my own head. And I'm just going to put on some glossy accents. I do like these small bottles, they are easy to take with you, and most often they do not clog up as much as those big ones. Sometimes I have had some problems with those as well, but not as much. And I need to remind myself of actually erasing the things that I've got there. I need to pick up a really good eraser because I don't want anything smudging out more than it has. And you see, and I'm going to lose my guidelines of course, but that's me. Let's just hope for the best, eh? So the glue is there, and I'm going to have this bit on top. And since I did put glue on, I do have a little bit of wiggle room, so to speak. I do have a small possibility of actually making this one wiggle a little and make sure I get it in place. And the best thing now would of course be to just put some weight on so it can dry in its own accord, or on its own accord, I'm not sure about that preposition there. I could just press it a little bit, and of course this is going to be sort of a delicate card. You shouldn't be wearing and tearing this one too much. You could perhaps put in a couple of half pearls or rhinestones or something and just have some fun with this. Of course you could do a little bit of more decorating on this. If you wanted, you could put a piece of a statement there, but Remember to not put it on the acetate, the plastic, because then it's going to get stuck now, won't it? So if you're going to put anything on top here, flowers or whatever, make sure you are gluing them down on the outer parts, not the plastic bits. So that's it from me. I hope you did enjoy this magical or magic slider card. I do like this. I do like this. One thing you should pay attention to, of course, if you're using a stamp with a figure with eyes and everything, just make sure that the plastic is correctly on top, because if it's a little bit wonky, I mean, you are going to get blurry. I mean, you're going to get dizzy. And this was was my first attempt, and I feel like the butterfly is too big for that circle, so it would have been nicer to have it smaller. But on the other hand, it's a really nice effect when that colored image pops out from the background. So perhaps one can be forgotten or forgiven for that mistake. So that's it from me. This is a 2-part video. Hopefully I'll be able to merge them together so you won't notice a thing. But until next time, I'm going to send off right now. Bye bye.